My new zine, Social Distancing, is available for purchase today, but I don't just want to tell you guys about the zine. I wanted to kind of bring you along through the whole process of how I made it, why I made it, and all the details. So in order to do that, we need to go back 1 month. It is March 18th, and I just announced that my next zine will be available for pre-order on April 18th, which is likely when you're seeing this video. And I haven't taken a single photo for this zine yet, so this will be interesting. Over the last few weeks, things have been crazy with the pandemic that's been going on. It's hard to tell what things will look like by the time this video goes up, but I've been spending a lot more time at home, away from the general public, and just basically working a lot less. School for both of our kids for the foreseeable future have been closed. Some of my jobs that I've had coming up over the next month or so have also been either canceled or postponed. Local restaurants, bars, businesses, a lot of places are closing for the foreseeable future just until things get sorted out. So a lot of our time is going to be spent isolating ourselves, social distancing, just trying to keep ourselves from spreading this thing. Any kind of large groups or gatherings of people, a lot of that has been canceled, as well as just kind of banned for the time being. So I've been wondering, with all of this free time, what am I going to do? What am I going to do to keep myself busy, to stay creative, to stay motivated? And last night I was laying in bed and I thought I wanted to give myself a challenge. I'm obviously big on documenting, so my first thought is to just make something out of this, make a document of what's going on, not only for myself and my family, but just my community in general. I haven't released a zine in a couple of years now, and I thought it would be a fun challenge to give myself basically just the next 30 days focus on making a zine from start to finish. Everything from shooting the photos, putting things together, releasing it out into the public. And I thought, that sounds great, but how can I keep myself from just putting this off? So I thought I would just go ahead and make an announcement. So I just did a little while ago on Instagram. I let people know that it's going to be up for pre-order on April 18th, so 1 month from today. And again, I haven't shot anything yet, so this is all sort of a gamble and really just a fun challenge for myself to try and make something out of this situation that we're in. Now, throughout all of this, I also want to make a video, which is what you're watching today. So I'm not going to share any details with anybody about what the zine is called, what it's about, anything like that. I'm not going to share any of the photos until the zine is actually finished and ready. So throughout this video, you're going to be seeing me kind of putting things together and sharing my thoughts and the photos and the whole process. And again, by the time this is up, there will be a pre-order link to the zine, which you can see down below. Again, I'm going into this completely blind. I don't have any ideas really figured out yet, or any specifics in terms of, what I'm going to shoot it with, how I'm going to sequence things, what I'm going to call it, how it's all going to be coming together. I'm not really sure, but I need to give myself a challenge. I need to give myself some kind of deadline and accountability there by letting you guys know ahead of time that I will have something ready on April 18th. And if I don't, then I'm going to fail. So I need to get to work. So let's just get to work. So, one roll down. When I first started thinking about doing this, I really thought about shooting all of these photos at home, or at least the majority, but I shot one roll just walking around town just now because it feels so strange. I've always loved Chillicothe, and years ago, especially around 2012 to 2014, I spent a lot of time walking around documenting our downtown area, really just Chillicothe as a whole, and I've always taken a lot of pride in Chillicothe. I love it here, and it's gone through a massive change since then. The downtown area is thriving, there are new businesses popping up left and right, and people have really started to gain this sense of pride in Chillicothe that I've always tried to push and instill in other people, and it's amazing to see that. But I just walked around for about half an hour, and it really brought me back to around that 2012 to 2014 time frame. I passed maybe a couple of people as I was out walking around, and everything is just so quiet now. But I walked around, shot one roll of Ilford HP5 at box speed in my Nikon FM2 with a 35mm f2 AI lens. I'm probably going to shoot the entire project on Ilford HP5 just to keep things consistent, and I'm going to probably shoot everything with this and my M6. That could change as the project develops, but I imagine I'm going to shoot everything on HP5 in 35mm. And this is really all I used to do. I used to just walk around for hours and take photos with my M6 on HP5 and a 35mm lens. So just combining that combination with, walking around town while things were just pretty silent, it really brought me back to that time frame, and it was really interesting. It was an interesting feeling, getting kind of inspired by previous photos I've taken or just previous walks I've taken. As I've walked around with my camera, it really kind of put me back into that mindset, and It's really, really interesting. I used to love taking photos walking around town, and I still do, but I approach it entirely differently than I used to. Back then, I would just take black and white film, a 35mm lens, and either my M6 or my FM2, and I would just walk for hours, and that's all I did. And doing that just now, even for just a short amount of time, it really brought me back to that, and I kind of want to chase that. But I'm going to continue to take photos at home as well, not just downtown. And again, originally I was thinking it would be nice to shoot everything kind of at home, away from basically the general public, but there isn't much general public out here right now. And as I kind of noticed that, I got really inspired to kind of shoot that and make something out of that. So I have no idea how this project is going to look when it's all said and done. I have really no idea what the next 30 days are going to look like. So this is going to be interesting. I hope the video is going to be interesting. My plan is to continue, making these kind of updates as I'm shooting, basically just sharing my thoughts, unfiltered, unscripted, just sharing my thoughts about the project, about the photos I've made, especially before I've seen the photos. This will be interesting to see how this kind of, I was going to say develops, but that's too on the nose. I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's March 25th, and things are going just about the same, if not slowing down even more. I just walked around town for a couple of hours and shot a couple rolls, and in my head I've been kind of going back and forth with just, all of the photos that I end up with by the time it's time to sit down and put everything together. At the time of recording, I still haven't seen any photos, so I don't know how this is all going to come together, but as I've been walking around town, I've been looking for things that really show the isolation and show the distance between people. I've been trying to just show, the bare, empty, slow pace of everything. There's so much uncertainty right now that it's going to be really interesting to look back on this in the future. So maybe this video and these photos can be like a little time capsule for that. That's really kind of the goal. I always say document your life. That's sort of been the the battle cry, so to speak, for this channel. It's something I'm constantly encouraging people to do. And I think it's just as important to, do that kind of thing right now when things are uncertain, a little scary, and just definitely not the ordinary. I think those are all my thoughts I have right now, so I need to actually go and shoot some photos of some coffee, so I'm gonna go do that now. So after I shot everything, I sent my film into the darkroom, all 3 rolls of HP5. I would have liked to have shot a lot more, obviously, but just given the situation, not only the 30-day window that I kind of gave myself to do this whole thing from start to finish, but also I've just really been trying to stay home as much as possible. I didn't want to just be out walking around. I did shoot some stuff at home, but piecing everything together, it just didn't really fit right. So although I was kind of shooting with this project in mind while I was home, none of those photos really fit with everything else. I really wanted to focus on how it's affected the community, not just, me personally. So, and when it came to kind of figuring out which photos paired well with others, this is normally part of the process where I would want to print everything physically and lay everything out, get a really good kind of wide view of everything and actually move pieces around, pair different images together, but I didn't really have the means to order a bunch of prints and wait for them to come in. So what I ended up doing was all of that just digitally. So I had all of my scans from the darkroom. I downloaded those directly to my Dropbox, which works great. I was doing all of this on my iPad Pro, so I downloaded everything to my Dropbox, and then I imported all of those scans into Lightroom on my iPad Pro and made all of my adjustments that way for contrast, exposure, shadows, highlights, all of that stuff. Any kind of normal adjustments I would make, I can do on the iPad Pro, and it really kind of helped having this sort of like tactile as much as I could anyway, working on the photos rather than just with like a keyboard and mouse. There was something nice about working with that system. I'm working on a whole video on what I use the iPad Pro for, not only for photography, but productivity, organization, all of that kind of stuff. So that will probably be in the next couple of weeks because especially working from home, I've been using it more than I normally do. So more on that later. And I would have really loved to lay out the entire zine on my iPad Pro as well, but I wasn't able to do that. I tried a number of different softwares, but it really just came down to using the best software that I could. So I ended up laying everything out on InDesign on my MacBook Pro. I'm not familiar with InDesign. I'm not used to working with a software like that, but my friend Nick Mayo from Nick Exposed, he actually had a great video that I'll link down below. It's from maybe a couple of years ago, I would think, but it was a great little overview of InDesign and and basically giving me enough information that I needed to work with. So big thanks to Nick for that. He's always a source of information. But from there, I really just kind of experimented within InDesign. I moved a lot of pages around. I figured out what photos just felt nice together, which ones, made like a nice pair. But then other photos, they really worked better on their own. Actually, Willem, I sent my kind of rough draft basically of this to him and got some feedback from him, and he talked about certain photos that maybe would work better as single images versus, a pairing of two. So big shout out to Willem for giving me a fresh set of eyes on that. And I think this whole part really came down to just experimentation and seeing what felt right, because some images I automatically knew that they would pair well with others, and then other photos that I didn't really have a place for, it wasn't until I put them next to another and I thought, oh, okay, these two actually make something now. So it was just a really good exercise. It had been a while since I had done any kind of project like this where I've laid out a sequence of photos and figured out what photos paired well with others. So yeah, really good exercise. Once I had the initial layout kind of figured out and set, I wanted to add a few different pages of basically just information. So the title page, a brief explanation and summary of the project, as well as the cover photo. This is where I jumped back on the iPad, I got on Procreate, and I wanted to add just a handwritten, simple, straight to the point kind of feel to it. So I literally just wrote everything out on my iPad Pro with Procreate. And I did the same thing with the cover photo. I chose the last photo of the book and I zoomed in really close just to kind of add that extra grain and just grit kind of feeling to it. And then I just wrote on top of that. I just wrote social distancing. I kind of spaced it out a little bit more than I normally would just to kind of tie in with the title, which a lot of people might not realize, but all the thumbnails for my videos, any writing that you see on there, that's just my handwriting. I've had a lot of people ask me what font I'm using. That's just my handwriting. This whole thing was obviously such a quick project. I wanted it to have a little bit of this like kind of loose and informal kind of feel. So that's why I wanted to go with the handwritten look. And the project is personal to me because it is about Chillicothe and I wanted to add that personal touch. So when it came time to actually print this thing, I wanted to use a service that wouldn't actually sell out. I would just be able to sell as many copies as I wanted for a couple of different reasons. Number one, I wanted to make sure everybody had a chance to get one. I understand how quickly things can sell out. My last zine, Little Mountains, I did first and second editions of it and they both sold out in minutes, which was great, but I also felt really bad for people who, didn't really have a chance to jump on at the exact right time. So I wanted this to be something that anybody can purchase, but at the same time, I wanted to really treat this as a really good fundraiser for my community. I used a service called MagCloud and I went with their Square option. It's an 8x8 perfect bound book. For the pricing, I am definitely happy with the print quality. I am sure I'm going to be using MagCloud again for future zines. So it's only going to be available for 1 month. So on May 18th, that will be the last day that you're able to order a copy. Whether it sells 1 copy or 100 copies or anything else, that's fine. It just has to happen within this 30-day window because at the end of it, once it's no longer available for purchase, nobody else is going to be buying any copies of it. I'm going to take all of the profits that I've made from it and donate to the local food banks. It just wouldn't feel right profiting off of something like this on our community and taking photos of the community in such a bad situation where a lot of people's lives are at stake, their careers are at stake, their whole financial situation is a mess right now. And I understand that a lot of people are getting way more affected by this than our family is. We're very lucky given the situation that we're in. So I want to be able to do something to give back to this community. The zine is only $15. I wanted to make it affordable while also still giving myself a little bit of room to make a profit on it in order to raise more money for the local food banks. I feel really good about this project. It was a fun exercise for me to just give myself like a time constraint and, just a few rolls of film, and it was slim pickings for sure. I didn't have a ton of photos to choose from, but I'm happy with what I made given the constraints that I set for myself. And it also just felt like a good step forward for me in my photography. I'm going to talk more about this in a couple of days, so that video will go up on Monday, but I have a lot of feelings about this whole process and shooting without sharing any of the photos and just what this really did for me in terms of how I viewed myself as a photographer, how I viewed my photos and what they mean, and just really kind of finding my style again or refining it a little bit. I'm not sure. I have a lot of feelings about that, so I want to talk more in depth about that on Monday. But that's going to do it for today. I think I've said enough, so I really hope you guys have enjoyed this whole process from start to finish. And if you're interested in picking up a copy of Social Distancing, there is a link down below. Again, all of the profits are going to be donated directly to the local food banks. I'm excited to see, how this does, and I will keep you guys up to date in a month from now. Once it's time to donate the money, I'll let you guys know how much money was raised, and I'm really excited about that. So tell a friend, share this video if you can. If you have any thoughts or questions about anything, please leave them in the comments down below. Give the video a like if you enjoyed it, and if you're new here, consider subscribing. There are new videos every Monday at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But that's it for today. So thank you guys for everything. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.